the news tonight,
this particular team has been very cohesive.
ruling party caucus to send back incumbent members, backs UPC and DP for opposition seats.
We shall remember Her Majesty for the fight for the environment.
Leader of opposition and shadow cabinet members sign condolence book, request release of political prisoners.
The doses you get as an infant do not protect for life.
And Ugandans urged to take tetanus vaccine every 10 years for lifelong immunity. In sports, Ginger-based club to face off with Egyptian side in Confederations Cup. Every day at 9 p.m. we make sure that you don't miss stories of events that made news throughout the day. And tonight, you don't want to miss any one of them. I'm Kalashi Brand with Isaac Luchams. Good evening and welcome to PM Edition on CTV. Starting us off tonight, the ruling National Resistance Movement Party has resolved to send all the incumbent members of parliament for the second term at the East African Legislative Assembly. NRM have also backed UPC Party Secretary General and DP Secretary General Dr. Gerald Siranda, and the decision was made by the NRM Parliamentary Caucus, which sat this afternoon at the Kololo Independence Grounds. Have a look.
The decision to retain the 6 EALA MPs was made in July by the Central Executive Committee of the NRM Party. SEC is the highest decision-making organ of the party. Party chairperson President Museveni chairs the SEC. Museveni chaired together Kolo's meeting that endorsed the July decision by the SEC, according to Hamson Obua, the government chief whip.
NRM Parliamentary Caucus hereby unanimously endorses the incumbent EALA members as NRM candidates for the position of members of the East African Legislative Assembly.
Obua says that this was done to set a precedent in accordance with the East African Treaty that allows EALA MPs to serve 2 terms.
The reasons advanced for the decision of the Central Executive Committee of NRM for retaining the 6 or maintaining the status quo are 2. One is that as a party, we are setting a precedent in line with the provision of the EAC Treaty, where members of parliament have 2 terms. 2, this particular team has been very cohesive compared to those who served before, and they have performed well as a group. So the highest...
He said that independent members will be chosen by Parliament during elections, while NRM will vote for EALA MPs from opposition parties that work closely with NRM.
Independents will be voted or decided by Parliament. It is public knowledge that under the iPod, there is some minimum cooperation with some political parties. We believe that members of the National Resistance Movement, arising from our minimum cooperation, our minimum association with these political parties, will be able to choose the representatives of the other shades of opinion from within.
The retained members include Paul Musamali, Rose Akol, James Kakoza, Dennis Namara, Mary Mujeni, and George Odong. In the EALA Parliament, Uganda has 9 slots. 6 MPs are NRM MPs, and the 3 slots are shared by opposition parties and independent candidates that are always NRM leaning. The nominations will take place on September 19th and September 20th. Elections will take place on September 29th. Sarah Nakandi for CTV PM Edition.
Now, the leader of opposition, Matthias Puga, has praised the Queen of England for having spearheaded the move to protect and conserve the environment under the Commonwealth. Puga made the remarks this evening at the British High Commission, where he had gone to sign the condolence book. The details.
It's been a week since Queen Elizabeth II died. Many government dignitaries have continued to visit the British High Commission to pay tribute to the Queen and convey their condolences. The leader of opposition, Matthias Puga, and members of the Shadow Cabinet this evening took to the British High Commission to pay tribute to the Queen and also sign in the condolence book. Members of the Shadow Cabinet who attended included Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs Mwada Nkunyinji, Shadow Minister for Information Joyce Bagala, Shadow Minister for Internal Affairs Abdallah Chiwanuka, and the Shadow Minister for Local Government Estro Naluima. In his message, the leader of opposition Matthias Puga praised the Queen as a great pillar in the fight against climate change and conserving the environment.
Our relations with the people of United Kingdom is a long history, and we respect it. We hope the new monarch will carry on from where Her Majesty left and be able to cultivate a spirit that unites our common peoples and interests. We shall remember Her Majesty for the fight for the environment. Africa and Uganda is part of the world that is suffering environmental degradation to levels that are almost near catastrophe.
While addressing the members of opposition, the British High Commissioner Kate Ailey thanked the Shadow Cabinets for its show of gratitude and praised the Queen's legacy.
You know, it's very hard to put into words because there are so many. I think here in Uganda, I think many people have talked to me about her phenomenal sort of leadership and support for the Commonwealth. You know, when the Commonwealth started, it was a small gathering just of 7 countries, and with Her Majesty's support, with her leadership, that has now grown to a family, and that's the word we use, a family.
According to Mwada Nkunyinji, the Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs, Uganda should use this time of mourning to release political prisoners.
We stand in solidarity with the people of the United Kingdom and the people of the world in mourning the death of the Queen Elizabeth, who was a loving queen for Uganda, a loving queen for Africans, and a loving queen for humanity. She supported and agitated for the rule of law, human rights, and good governance. We want to urge the government of Uganda to learn from the Queen, and not only mourn by signing the book, but also put in practice and put in real life the examples and good examples we learned from the Queen. If we talk about rule of law, let's use the same period of mourning together with the United Kingdom. And we see Uganda government releasing political prisoners. Let political prisoners, Honorable Sewanyana, Honorable Segirinya, and so many other political detainees, let them be allowed to be released on bail.
Queen Elizabeth II will finally get laid to rest on the 19th of September in Westminster Abbey. The Queen died at the age of 96 years and is known for being the longest-serving monarch, having ruled for 70 years. Story by Chris Samakula for CTV, PM Edition.
Minister for Kampala, Mr. Kawanda, has today ordered all taxis plying the Entebbe route to go to Usafi and Kisenyi Tax Park to reduce on commotion. The minister's remarks come at a time when KCCA is embarking on a campaign of turning Kampala into a smart city.
Kawanda says they held a meeting with the leadership of taxi operators and made a resolution. She said that they also resolved that taxis that have been parking near Conrad Plaza on Entebbe Road should use Usafi Park, which is gazetted.
All taxis operating along Entebbe Road should immediately vacate the old tax park and return to Usafi and Kisenyi Park. Number 2, KCC enforcement team should remove all illegal stages specifically along Entebbe Road, Conrad Plaza, and Chibati areas. The enforcement team should have permanent presence at these locations to deter any illegal loading.
The directive comes after taxi operators in Usafi Park petitioned her challenging the continued operations of Entebbe Road stages in the Old Tax Park and other illegal stages, which has affected the operations. Commander says KCCA should enforce the directive immediately and also work with the contractor of the Kampala flyover project to ensure that the temporary pedestrian walkways established are safe, spacious, and fitted with security lights.
KCCA should continuously liaise with the contractor working around flyover project to ensure that street lighting is functional and adequate space is left for pedestrians to walk towards Usafi Market.
Since the construction of Usafi Park, market vendors and passengers who use the taxi have complained about the long distance they walk to go to the park. Taxi operators say most passengers shun Usafi Park because they have alternative stages in the Old Tax Park and at Conrad Plaza. Mustafa Mayambala, the Vice Chairman of Uganda Transport Operators Federation, an umbrella body for taxi operators, says there are over 300 taxis that operate in the Old Tax Park, yet they are supposed to operate from Usafi Park. He says they will rally taxi operators to adhere to the minister's directive.
We appeal to the minister within these 3 days from today to until Sunday, you revisit that directive at that point. All vehicles, even the pioneer buses and the taxis, all of them should be removed at once, not to apply the directive selectively, to order the taxis to leave and you to go and you leave the pioneers. So
Simon Kasiati, the spokesperson of KCCA, says they will enforce the minister's directive immediately.
Moving on, Kampala Capital City Authority has concluded the registration of border operators in Kampala City. Over 35,000 motorcycle operators have been registered in an exercise that is intended to determine the number of border operators for planning and security purposes. The details.
The deadline for the registration of border operators that has been extended several times has come to an end, according to Kampala City authorities. According to KCCA officials, border operators who miss today's deadline will be penalized upon being arrested. Government announced the exercise early this year. Crime reduction in the city and the improvement of the transport sector are some of the reasons why government is registering the riders. Being the deadline, most registration centers were crowded by riders who wanted to beat the deadline. In Lubaga Division and Kampala Central Division, the riders told CTV that they delayed to register because they lacked some registration requirements such as logbooks, national ID, recommendation letters from the local council chairman, among others.
Omuntu omuwa sente za kasente ko kamu agende wewandiise naye akuzambine na akubuzabuza gamba kimu ate n'ekirala kye batugamba otuuka wali ku gundi waliwo obuzibu buloka kye kisoka kye kintu batusaba gavumenti etongerezeeyo ennaku
baba webbanga eryasooka ne bajjumbira kitono ne babongera ebbanga lino lye tulimu erinaku 15 kati bakozesezza olunaku olusembayo okulaga nti abantu betugenda okukola nabo si bangu kutegeera kiki kye bagenda kukola.
Others say they have failed to register their motorcycles because their bosses keep the logbooks and cannot release them.
Bunyo okwata kadi n'agikuwa n'agamba genda wewandisa abamanyi oba oyagala kutwala piki ye.
Tuludde nga tuwulira emboozi nnyingi nga buli muntu ayogera kiki mugende babakeera emitero genda batukebera emitwe mugende mubanse twewandisiza enfunda nnyingi naye ebintu nga tebivaayo.
Tosobola genda tagayira ku mugaga nga kubanja wiki y'emabega mbw akuwe kadi n'olowooza nti anaakuwa ajja kugamba parking eri.
Kampala Minister Mensa Kabanda told journalists at the Uganda Media Center that more than 35,000 motorcycles have been registered.
Approximately, I'm not so certain about how many have registered, but according to the report yesterday, around 350,000 have registered. So we're going to work on those who have registered. Gazetting of the stages, putting in the security codes and giving them jackets to put on, that we shall work on those who are trained and who have registered with us.
She says that effective Monday next week, any motorcycle that is not registered will be impounded.
By Monday, we are going to start enforcing. All those who are not registered are not going to allow to drive on road. They are not going to be allowed. That is starting Monday. Enforcement is coming. That is, I think, after this weekend. Deadline is today.
KCCA estimates that there are over 100,000 motorcycles in Kampala City.
Did you get vaccinated for tetanus when you were still young? And if you did, do you think it's still effective? Find out after the break when PM Edition returns.
Do you love me?
Very much.
I'll catch you one day. Pants down.
I want to spoil you. I want you to eat my money.
She believes I'm in love with her guy. Nico? If I had to live everywhere I'm not loved, where would I end up? The dirty guy hides in the hospital for 40 years, but at night, he walks the streets, commits crimes, and then he comes back and pretends to be alive again. I will break you, Spooky. Do not answer any question about Roho kwa Roho. It's your brain!
Now showing on CTV. Don't blink. CTV is now on StarTimes. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTimes channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. CTV. Don't blink.
Glad to have you back on PM Edition. Health professionals have advised members of the public to start taking tetanus booster shots every decade, revealing that the tetanus vaccines administered during childhood do not provide lifelong immunity. Tetanus is a serious disease of the nervous system which causes muscle contractions, particularly of the jaw and neck muscles. The details.
According to the Uganda National Expanded Program on Immunization, 3,000 to 5,000 people get tetanus in Uganda every year. And what makes it even worse is that most patients die because it requires emergency and long-term supportive treatment in the intensive care unit. It is this backdrop that the Ministry of Health, the Coalition for Health Promotion and Social Development, HEPS Uganda, and other partners are launching a month-long Stop Tetanus Awareness campaign. Kenneth Muhonge, the HEPS Uganda Executive Director, says the campaign is inspired by the recurrent preventable death resulting from tetanus despite the government's tireless vaccination efforts against the disease.
Realize there are very low awareness levels on tetanus. It's a deadly disease, but we don't know about it. The schedules for vaccination, if I may ask those that have children here, how many have gone back for at least those 5 doses that we need to have at least a fairly lifelong protection, and the booster doses.
The tetanus vaccination is administered to children, but it does not provide lifelong immunity, unlike other childhood communicable diseases. Alan Moruta, the Ministry of Health Commissioner for Integrated Epidemiology, Surveillance and Public Emergencies, says a good number of people do not know about tetanus vaccination.
Is that the death rate of tetanus is so high that many people don't get to witness sick people because you never see them on the normal ward. They are always in the intensive care. And so it is difficult for people to be exposed.
Dr. Anyau Helen, a pediatrician at Mulago Hospital, says the most affected children are 7 years old.
Young children, when they are vaccinated, they are protected for only a few years, maybe 7 years. Then they need a vaccine, they need a dose every 10 years.
The climax of the campaign will be a vaccination drive and a charity run on October 16, 2022. The World Health Organization estimates that mortality from tetanus is close to 100% without medical care. Shamim Natebo Wetendo, CTV, PM Edition.
According to leaders from Hoima district, there has not been any positive impact from the money that government has disbursed through Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Project and the Youth Livelihood Project. Leaders say that the money disbursed between the financial year 2014 and 2015, then 2019-2020, has been misused and not accounted for.
Recently, Hoima Resident District Commissioner Emi Katera and officials from the District Community Development Office made impromptu visits in various sub-counties of Hoima District to assess the impact of the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Project and Youth Livelihood Project.
I have begun with the sub-counties of Chabigambire and Ulindi and Haneka today. This money was dispersed to those groups in the year 2018, and most of the groups, especially youth groups, were getting 12.5 million, and others were getting 7 million and above.
In some sub-counties, group members had shared the funds received, while others had failed to recover the money, yet the grace period had elapsed. Some groups, such as Chiriabatuzi Youth Millers, failed to recover 8 million shillings, which was given to them under Youth Livelihood Project.
I will admit that we received the 8 million shillings, but it came at a time when we were facing challenges.
Women groups in Buraru sub-county are accused of diverting money given to them under Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program. Each group received 12 million shillings to buy produce during the 2017-2018 financial year, but they claim that they were interrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
We were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. We could not even buy produce. We made losses.
Hoima Resident District Commissioner, who is disappointed with the management of funds, has placed blame on the district technical staff for failing to monitor the programs.
The project either is limping or not there at all. Secondly, the government
we were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. We could not even buy produce. We made losses.
Now, we need to know why. If anything, according to their testimony, the government money became a problem to them. Because now they are finding themselves they are supposed to pay and they don't see the money.
Kenneth Ebong, the Hoima District Community Development Officer, says efforts are being made to have the money recovered.
Some of the view that you get time and sit with them together and mentor them and guide them on how to proceed. Probably even diversifying the program, the project rather.
The funds that were given to these communities were meant to uplift the standards of people living in poverty. Martha Amanya, CTV, PM Edition.
Away from Uganda, trade union workers in Tunisia finally get an answer to their June strike against the government's economic reforms. In the new reforms, they will have a 5% annual hike in their wages. And in West Africa, Mali has rejected a call for ECOWAS to mediate its dispute with the Ivory Coast. The details. Tunisia's government and the country's main labor union struck a pay deal in the capital, Tunis. The agreement involves a 5% annual hike to public sector wages every year until 2025. The breakthrough comes after arduous negotiations and a general strike observed in June. The purchasing power of Tunisians had eroded since the beginning of the year amid rising prices, high unemployment, and widespread poverty. Najila Bouden, head of government, said, despite the delicate economic and financial situation, the government was keen to open negotiations on wage increases to consolidate trust with the social partners in order to achieve the common objective of establishing social peace and supporting civil servants. Norenda Ntobobi, the head of the union, stressed that the importance of this is to establish social peace and to ease the tense social climate in view of the very difficult social situation and the deterioration of purchasing power. The Tunisian General Labour Union leader confirmed the first hike would take effect next month. The state-run news agency TAP also reported the deal included a rise in the minimum wage. The government continues to negotiate with the International Monetary Fund over a $2 billion bailout. Mali has rejected a call for ECOWAS-led talks over the detention of Ivorian soldiers in Bamako, warning about an instrumentalization of the regional body in a bilateral and judicial matter. The spokesperson for the government of the Sahelian nation also slammed Abidjan's blackmail accusations. The sparring match between Ivory Coast and Mali on the detention of 46 soldiers continues. On Thursday, Bamako rejected Abidjan's call for a regional emergency crisis summit over the detention of its soldiers. The spokesperson for the government of the Sahelian nation said in a statement that the case was purely judicial and bilateral and warned of an instrumentalization of the regional body. He said the mediation by the Togolese government was the only framework it would engage in to solve what has become a diplomatic row. Since 49 Ivorian soldiers were arrested in Bamako in July, Abidjan has insisted the troops were on a routine rotation for personnel who provided backup services for the UN peacekeeping mission in Mali. However, the mandate of the troops remained obscure and they were charged with undermining state security. On Wednesday, following a meeting of Ivory Coast's National Security Council chaired by President Alassane Ouattara, Abidjan accused Mali of blackmail. Mali's leader had suggested a prisoner swap to end the crisis. According to a source close to the Ivorian presidency, the matter should be discussed next week during an extraordinary ECOWAS summit held on the sidelines of the UN's General Assembly. However, it is unclear if Bamako will have representatives attend the meetings. Away from Africa, an assailant in London stabbed 2 police officers, causing a security threat in the city ahead of Queen Elizabeth II's burial. And China has announced it will sanction 2 tech CEOs for involvement in arms sales to Taiwan. Here is more. Two police officers were stabbed by a man early Friday in central London and hospitalized, police said, while ruling out terrorism amid massive security ahead of Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. The Metropolitan Police said the assailant was tasered and arrested on suspicion of grievous bodily harm and assaulting an emergency worker. The man was also in hospital following the incident at around 6 a.m. in the nightlife area around Leicester Square, it said. The busy area is less than a mile from where the Queen's coffin is lying in state at Parliament ahead of Monday's state funeral. But a Met statement said the incident is not being treated as terror-related. The statement said the 2 officers received stab wounds and are being treated in hospital, with further updates on their condition awaited. The force said inquiries into the circumstances surrounding the incident are ongoing. The UK's first state funeral in nearly 6 decades is said to be attended by leaders and royalty from around the world, including US President Joe Biden. Thousands of police from across the country have been deployed to London, while 1,500 army personnel are on standby to help manage crowds and security as tens of thousands of people queue to file past the late monarch's coffin. It has been lying in state in Parliament's Westminster Hall since late Wednesday, where it will remain until early Monday. China's spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has today announced that, due to their participation in Washington's most recent military sales to Taiwan, the CEOs of Boeing Defense and Raytheon will face sanctions from China. Ted Colbert, CEO of Boeing Defense, Space and Security, and Gregory Hayes, CEO of Raytheon Technologies Corporation, have been subject to penalties as a result of the U.S. Department's approval of the sale of military hardware to Taiwan on September 2nd. These deliveries include 60 anti-ship missiles and 100 air-to-air missiles, with Raytheon and Boeing Defense serving as the prime contractors for each. According to Mao Ning, a spokesperson for the Foreign Ministry, Colbert and Hayes will face sanctions in order to protect China's sovereignty and security interests. Mao didn't go into detail about the specifics of the penalties or how they would be applied. The US government and associated organizations are once again urged by the Chinese side to stop selling arms to Taiwan and US-Taiwan military contacts. After Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the US House of Representatives, visited Taipei last month, the highest-ranking US official to visit the island in years, and in response to China's aggressive military exercises near Taiwan, the Pentagon unveiled the package. Raytheon, Boeing Defense, and other unnamed parties implicated in arms sales to Taiwan have already received sanctions from China. Beijing identified and enforced punishments against individuals from these companies for the first time with Friday's announcement. Taiwan is a self-governing island that Beijing views as a province that needs to be reined in, possibly by force. Taiwan denies China's claims to sovereignty, claiming that only its citizens have the power to determine their future, and it pledges to defend itself in the event of an assault. That's a wrap from the international scene. Let's go for a short break. When we return, sports news. Welcome back to PM Edition on CTV. In our sports news, Bull FC will lock horns with Egyptian side Future FC tomorrow in their second leg of the CAF Confederation Cup qualifiers. The ginger-based side wants to progress to the final qualifier round after a goalless first leg draw at St. Mary's Stadium, Chitende, last weekend.
Bull FC showed resilience last weekend in their first ever continental competition. The Eastern Giants look to finish their mission at the Cairo International Stadium tomorrow after a goalless draw with Future FC in the first leg at the St. Mary's Stadium. Future FC, who are also making their continental debut, host Bull FC in the second leg of the CAF Confederation Cup qualifier. Head coach Alex Sabir says they are ready to get the desired result.
They know what it means to go through, so we are doing whatever it takes to see that we get positive results. I know we've not played any game at night, but now...
Isabir says he has confidence in his players to win.
You need just to pray for us. We are ready for the game. I'm very sure we will not disappoint you. We are ready for the game. We are prepared. Everybody is ready, and we are eager to go through.
Isabir's side has been in Egypt since Wednesday. The team has been training at night for the last 2 days. If Bull manage a win or a draw with goals, They will go through to the final round of the qualifiers with an ambition of reaching the group stages of the CAF Confederations Cup. Bashir Omar, CTV, PM Edition.
It's a wrap for tonight's PM edition. It has been a pleasure hanging out with you tonight. I'm Kalachi Brian, Isaac Luchams. We wish you good night.